Hey gamers, it's Gatling. I'm here to show you how to make guacamole, but guess what? It's gonna be in Blender, so buckle up. It's gonna be one fast-ass tutorial on how to make my awesome guacamole, my prized recipe, but in Blender. That sounds so ridiculous now that you said it out.
Wait, in a blender or in Blender?
No, Blender is in the model.
Oh, okay.
This is just
That
getting
makes
more
it
and
even more absurd.
scuffed every time you say it. Holy sh!
That's more absurd than what I was thinking. I thought that you meant you were going to be making it in a blender.
Why would you make guacamole in a blender? What the fuck?
I don't know! I thought it was for a meme!
Imagine making guacamole for a fucking meme, dude.
I'll be back.
Hang on, let me check.
I'm gonna give you guys a fat tutorial on how to make guacamole in Blender.
Stop saying it! Dude, no, first thing you gotta do is delete the default cube, and then spawn it back in.
Oh yeah, we can't use the default cube. There it goes.
Okay, now spawn in a cube.
Do I control Z it back in? No, that I'd have to make
No, you gotta shift A,
There
you
it is! New undefault cube.
Disgusting.
Start with a plane as our table. Scale
I
that
fully...
up. Making sure that cube is sitting right there on that plane. Alright, we don't need the cube.
What the fuck? Joke's on you, you fell for it. We don't actually need the cube.
Okay, enough fooling around now. We're going to start with a cylinder shape. We're going to bring it down to the plane, and that's going to be important just to make sure that your bowl is on the table. What we're going to do is go into edit mode, and we're going to hit Control R to bring up some subdivision surfaces. We're going to add some vertices right here, add some more vertices, and these will just help you, these will just let you shape that bowl. Back into edit mode, we're going to hit select faces. We're going to scale down the bottom faces. We're going to extrude and scale some more, extrude and scale, just keep that going. I'm going to select the whole thing and squish it down. I'm going to make sure that's a nice looking bowl, and then I'm going to remove the top face of the bowl. Alrighty, once we got our bowl, we're going to go ahead and right click and shade smooth. That looks great, and as an object modifier, we're going to add subdivision surface, and that let us control the thickness of our bowl. I'm going to make sure it's nice and paper thin, but not too paper thin. And that allowed me to fill it with some guacamole. In object mode, I'm going to hit apply. Alright, now to go into coloring the bowl and the plane that I've made so far. I'm going to go over to materials, and that materials tab at the bottom corner right there. Hit add material. I'm going to add an image texture. Then I'm going to go over and add a piece of wood for my seamless texture. I have a tutorial about this in my previous video you guys all seen, but you can use this method on anything you want to turn into wood, and it will turn into wood. It'll look gorgeous. All you need to add is those wooden colors into that color ramp of yours, and you can edit your wood however you want. You can add mapping to it in case it doesn't look right for you, and just go ahead and add that mapping and noise texture as I told you in the previous tutorial. You can also add some bump, move that color down into your heights, and turn that bump a little bit down because that's a little too strong. And now we're going to go into our bowl, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Creating the texture is going to be the same schlick as it was for making the table texture. This one's actually going to be kind of fun. Same simple thing. Go ahead and add that image texture node. Whoever created the image texture node, I just want to say thank you so much. You've made my life easier, and I'm going to start crying. I'm just kidding. That's a fucking lie. Anyway, we're going to add this image texture node right here. It's going to be kind of blackish. I kind of want a rough iron look. That classic chips and salsa bowl that you usually get at those really fancy Mexican restaurants. I'm going to turn the black up, and not too much, but I'm going to also give a little bit of gray to work with. That looks fine. I'm going to also add a bump texture. Make sure it doesn't look too fake. I always like adding my bumps along with my images. You know, it's just me. Just me. There's that texture right there for you, by the way. That's the one that I used. And that's what that bowl looks like when it's rendered. The reason it kind of had that underlying light is because it wasn't to the plane. So I'm going to hit 3 on my number pad. I'm going to bring it down to that plane. There we go. You can see the texture isn't perfect, but that's okay because we're going to put some guacamole. Our guacamole is going to be a UV sphere. So go ahead and add the sphere and Shift A, and then what I'm going to do with the sphere is scale it down and squash it a bit, just to make sure I get the right size sphere. Is kind of just making everything invisible and kind of flattening it down. And just like all the other things, we're going to add a texture node for the guacamole. We're going to add that texture in, and then we're going to start mapping it using certain nodes. Alright, adding a simple bump texture to that guacamole. Like I said, got to make everything nice and bumpy. This is going to be super important when we create that guacamole into a full-on texture. So we're going to add mapping, and then we're going to add a mapping coordinates for that image. We're going to turn down the glossiness, and we're going to change the settings of the guacamole, right? Just to make sure, just to give it that good look right there. Now the guacamole looks like it's a big bowl because it looks like there's a lot of it. So I'm going to shrink it down using that mapping coordinates. I'm going to make sure it looks like there's just a table full of guac, like, you know, a good like 4 servings, you know, for chips, not 600 servings. We got to scale it down in the mapping node down there. This bowl of guac looks actually really, really good, and I'm kind of proud of it actually so far. We got to add a couple things more. We're going to add the cilantro on the top, and then we're going to add chips. Already, this part is important. You're going to have to be able to get the add-on add image as planes. I use this a lot. This is actually really, really helpful, and you're going to need it in the future if you're going to do projects like this, if you want them image accurate. I added this cilantro PNG as a plane, and then I just 90 degrees on the side, you know, sort of. I'm just going to have it kind of hover above that guacamole right there, but the shadows cast during ray tracing will actually go through the PNG and make it look like it's sitting on top of the guacamole. This is actually really cool. I'm darkening the cilantro a bit. I want to make sure my lighting is a little bit gloomy. I kind of like the gloomy lighting anyway. Now I'm going to set the render engine to cycles. Save your project. Always save your projects. Now that looks great, and the one thing it is missing though is chips, and that's what we're going to add. Alright guys, the last step is to add the chips. I'm messing around with the lighting here. I'm checking to see which one looks best. Adding the chips is the same way I did the cilantro. All I did was get an image, add it as a plane. I'm messing around with the chips' settings right now to make sure that they look good in the lighting that they currently are in. What I'm going to do is Control-C, Control-V, that good old copy and paste those chips. And what I'm going to do is multiply them all over the table. Once you're done placing those chips, go ahead and move some of them just a little bit to give them that nice shadow. Give it some realism so none of them are clipping. And voila, you have your render. You have your guacamole and chips. I hope you enjoy. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sorry about that. One last quick edit. Back into edit mode. Go ahead and hit tab, select faces. Move them around a bit. And this is going to help you not get that weird same spherical shape as the guacamole. I don't know why I didn't add this, but here you go.